For Pacifica Radio, I'm Christina Onnested. Controversial legislation to lift the nation's borrowing limit in exchange for expanded work requirements for food and cash aid and approval for a gas pipeline is heading towards a crucial House vote today. After lawmakers passed it out of the House Rules Committee Tuesday, lawmakers have until this Monday to lift the nation's borrowing limit or face a historic default when the nation will be unable to pay its bills. Christopher Martinez reports.
Ranking Democrat Jim McGovern of Massachusetts defended the deal.
This bill could have been a lot more awful.
McGovern did have some reservations. He says the bill represents an all-time high in recklessness and stupidity, adding that every time Republicans are in charge, they screw things up.
Republicans think the way we should get our budgetary house in order is by going after vulnerable people. I don't know what the hell is wrong with them, but that is where what this bill is all about. These adjustments will make older, poorer Americans hungrier.
Republicans had wanted to use the debt limit to force a number of issues they wanted, like cuts in domestic non-military spending, stronger work requirements for food stamps and Medicaid, and halting new hiring of IRS agents. Republican Speaker McCarthy praised the agreement in a news conference Tuesday.
The largest savings in American history. All the Congresses in the past, you can add up all the money that they rescinded and add them together, this is higher than that.
The agreement displeased progressive Democrats, but it also has points that disappointed many conservative Republicans. Legislative leaders are focusing now on whipping enough votes, a simple majority, for the bill to pass out of the House and go to the Senate. I'm Christopher Martinez.
A new analysis from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office says the package reduces deficits by $1.5 trillion over the decade, but work requirements for SNAP food aid will add to it, boosting aid to some 78,000 more people and spending $2.1 billion over that time period. Climate justice activists rallied outside Senate Leader Chuck Schumer's Brooklyn apartment Monday, opposing the deal's provision that permits the Mountain Valley gas pipeline.
Climate justice!
The near $7 billion 303-mile pipeline would transport natural gas drilled in Ohio and Pennsylvania across the Appalachian Mountains. It faces more than one legal challenge. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals revoked a key water permit last month, noting at least 46 water quality violations. An analysis from Oil Change International estimates the project would emit the equivalent of more than 89 million metric tons of carbon, equal to the emissions of 26 coal plants. A number of drone strikes hit Russia overnight, including parts of Ukraine's Luhansk region that Russia claims. Several people were declared dead. It marks an escalation and perhaps a beginning of Ukraine's anticipated counteroffensive. It comes after at least 8 drone strikes hit Moscow, damaging several buildings and injuring civilians Tuesday. This follows Russia's targeting residential buildings in Ukraine with a wave of drone attacks in recent days, killing civilians in the Donetsk. Another flaring of tensions between the U.S. and China. China's defending its fighter jet coming into close contact with the U.S. jet over the South China Sea after the Biden administration released video of the incident, slamming the move as an aggressive maneuver. China says it will safeguard its sovereignty. FSN's Chris Wood reports.
The video was shot from inside the American plane's cockpit. It shows what the Pentagon says is a Chinese J-16 fighter cutting across its path on Friday, coming as close as 400 feet. A few seconds later, the US RC-135 shakes violently as it flies through the turbulent wake of the Chinese warplane. The US Department of Defense says its plane was conducting safe and routine operations over the South China Sea in international airspace in accordance with international law. China claims most of the South China Sea as its own.
That's Chris Wood reporting. North Korea's attempt to put its first spy satellite into space has failed. The unsuccessful launch day is a setback to leader Kim Jong-un's push to boost his military capability. It was Pyongyang's 6th attempt to launch a satellite and its first since 2016. A satellite launched by North Korea is a violation of UN Security Council resolutions. North Korea has vowed to conduct a second launch. Ceasefire talks between Sudan's warring military generals have broken down. A spokesperson for Sudan's military says it suspended its participation in the talks, with the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces blaming it for repeated violations of the humanitarian ceasefire, including occupation of hospitals and other civilian infrastructure in the capital, Khartoum. The development is a blow to the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, who tried to broker a peace ceasefire. The UN has blamed both sides for human rights abuses in the conflict. A lawyer for the man charged in the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history has acknowledged he planned and carried out the massacre at a Pittsburgh synagogue and made hateful statements against Jews. Defense attorney Judy Clark told jurors Tuesday Robert Bowers went to the Tree of Life synagogue and shot every person he saw. He faces the death penalty if convicted of some of the 63 counts. I'm Christina Onnested reporting for Pacifica Radio.